Man, you lost 10 million in your divorce, bro?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I did a seminar yesterday, a group for one of my dear friends. Her name is Tressa, out of DC. She's a producer. So we were talking to the producing groups and the writers and trying to give them the ins and outs of the business. And one of the things that I try to do is when I do lectures, I have one slated hopefully to do it in Norfolk State, and I want to take it around to the HBCUs, evening with Clifton Powell. And what I want to talk about is all the things that nobody helped me understand when I started in the business. So one of the panelists asked me, "What's the biggest mistake I made?" I think the biggest mistake I made in the beginning was getting married. Not so much because marriage is bad, but trying to build my career inside of my marriage. It's simply impossible. The divorce rate in Hollywood is almost 97% amongst entertainers. So, and not that I wouldn't have married my ex-wife or not have my kids. The best thing that came out of that were my kids. But um, I just, being an entertainer, and I'll give you an example. In 1979, myself, Denzel Washington, Sam Jackson, Angela Bassett, we were all poor actors who were just entering into a very difficult business. And nobody ever told me and taught me anything about Hollywood or how to be an entertainer or be in the entertainment business. It's a little different when you're in New York and you don't necessarily make it to the big national level. But when you leave New York, like we all did, only left New York, not necessarily come out to Hollywood to be famous actors. We were in love with the work, but you don't make a lot of money. So when you come out to Hollywood, the next thing you know, you do rock, and then from rock you do Minister Society, and then from Minister you do Dead Presidents, and then I went on a 35-year run. Where I did Rush Hour, Next Friday, Phantoms, Deep Rising, and all the movies that people have Ray, and all the movies that people have seen me in. And inside of that has its own the trajectory in the arts has its own isolated energy, and it takes all of your time and all of your energy. Barely have enough time for your wife and your kids. And I didn't understand that. And so when I was married at the height of my career, making a lot of money, I was out of my house maybe 80% of the time. And no marriage can survive if you're not giving it attention. And then there's all the other temptations on the road, the women, the gambling, the drinking, the partying. And before you know it, you're in divorce court. And that's really what happened. I survived it, because money is amazing. But if you're not happy, money is not good. So I don't blame my ex-wife. I don't blame anyone. I just, with my journey, trying to help young entertainers understand, build your career first and then focus on marriage and children and things like that. And I had an outside life, and I'll tell, and again, I told the panel yesterday, I have a movie that I'm developing about relationships. And one of the things that I like to talk to women about and men is that men have a hormone. And of course, I didn't understand this before I got married. Men have a hormone inside of their brain called dopamine. It controls the pleasure center it's in the pleasure center of your brain. And that's drugs, sex, gambling, smoking, partying, and rock and roll. And I did all of that. I didn't do drugs. That's the only thing. That's the only reason I'm sitting here right now. But I partied, I gambled, I had a lot of women, and I was never home. And it's very difficult because women have a hormone in their brain called oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone. So intimacy is personal for women. It's emotional. It's not personal for men unless you fall in love with someone. And I didn't understand any of that. So one of the things that I want to do with my lecture or the evening with Clifton Powell is break all that down for young entertainers, because back in my day, nobody guides you through. There are no mentors to call because now we're all competition. So that's, how I take my spin on it. I got two beautiful children out of it, and I love my babies, and I wouldn't trade it, but I wouldn't do it the same way.
Wow. Let me ask you this. You'll be the perfect person to ask this. Do you think the financial side of divorce is fair for both parties?
That's really a great question. Um, That's a very difficult question, because I think the way the law is written, depending on what state you're married in, it's 50-50. And LA is 50-50. So when you go into marriage, you're basically entering into a business situation. And everybody has to uphold their part. So it's fair in the sense that if my ex-wife was the breadwinner, she would have had to give me alimony. If she kept the kids, then she has to give me alimony and not child support. If I get the kids, she has to pay me child support if she's the breadwinner. If I'm the breadwinner and I get the kids, then, I have to pay her alimony because I have the kids and there's no child support because they're with me. So it's fair. I mean, I know females, I have a couple of female friends who are paying child support and alimony. So I think you have to understand that marriage is, on top of the love, it's a contract. And if you don't uphold your end of the bargain, then you're going to get a problem. You're going to have a money problem if you don't have it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, in a sense, because a lot of people say that it's unfair to the men. So, I don't know.
Well, I gotta say this. I'm a little different. If you make a baby, you gotta take care of your baby for 21 years at least. So if you want to stop making babies, then put your condom on. That's as simple as that. My ex-wife didn't make me marry her. I come out of a traditional Christian kind of background, and I felt like that was the right thing to do. I didn't understand the business part of it, but I wasn't a good husband. I can sit here and tell you I wasn't a good husband. Men are not monogamous. Women will never want to believe that, not because we want to be, but because we have dopamine in our brain. And then when you put entertainer on top of it, popular, famous, however you want to consider me, it comes with a lot of outside attention, especially from women. So I would sit here and say, I wasn't a great husband. If I could do it again, if and when I marry Marquita, I'm going to be focused. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be disciplined. And I've learned how to handle all the outside distractions. So if the woman is the breadwinner, she's going to end up paying. If the man is the breadwinner, he has to pay. It's the way it goes. There's nothing if you're the breadwinner, you can hide money if you want. But when you get inside of a divorce proceeding, you are under a guideline. So if you try to move money or hide money, you can get locked up for that. So if you get married tomorrow and your wife makes $300,000 and you make $1 million, then take $500,000 and give it to your mother, or put it in an account that the federal government can't touch. And then you go into your proceedings, but then you got to open your books when you go into your proceedings. But it's ways to get around that. I can't talk about this on the podcast. If you got a great friend, you can say, listen, bro, or you got a, older son, you say, hey, hold this 5,000 or 500,000. But once you are inside of that divorce proceeding or injunction, so to speak, then if you start moving money around, you can get in trouble for that. Trust me, I thought about all of it.